Episode 2, Valentine's Day in Ashes. Last Wednesday was Valentine's Day, as we all know. And for some, that's a very joyful event. With flowers and chocolate and expensive meals, rose petals on the bed, hours of sex. Well, I don't really know anyone who gets hours of sex, but it's all part of the narrative. Well, at the same time, there are others who think it's a stupid and honestly painful holiday, a reminder that they're single, unable to hook or at least to keep a partner. And for the latter, they're sort of reappropriating this day, turning it into something that's less of a commercial, lovey-dovey kind of holiday and a little bit more palatable, focused on things like Palentine's Day, Galentine's Day. We've all heard these before. And I like it. It's a day to celebrate love in many forms, not just romantic love. Well, it turns out that this year, Ash Wednesday was on the same day as Valentine's Day. Now, most non-Catholics wouldn't register the overlap, but to me, a cradle Catholic who still harbors some Catholic tendencies, it really gave me a chuckle. Yeah, sure, let's celebrate romantic love on the same day we celebrate our inevitable return to ashes. If you've been to an Ash Wednesday service, or if you haven't, I guess I should say, there's a part of the service of the liturgy where the priest actually imposes ashes and the sign of the cross on your forehead, well, saying ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The whole idea is to remind you that you came from nothing and you will go back to nothing, that life is impermanent. But this juxtaposition of Ash Wednesday and Valentine's Day is actually kind of funny, right? I mean, the thought of somebody actually going to an Ash Wednesday service and then jumping to a Valentine's Day dinner at Ruth's Chris is a little comical. But at the same time, it gives us an opportunity to look at one and the other side by side. So Ash Wednesday, for those who aren't aware, marks the beginning of Lent. 40 days of sacrifice that then end on Easter Sunday. The day itself is a reminder, as I noted, of our impermanence. We're born in this world a while. We get to do a few things, and if we're lucky and smart and intentional, a few good things that make our world brighter. And then we're done. We're buried, we're burned, in the grave. The only thing keeping us alive? Memories. Isn't it kind of the same with love? Hear me out. Love comes and goes, right? It comes when we least expect it oftentimes. It gives us a joy and a purpose. We know this. But then it disappears or fades away, and it hurts. God, it's painful. But it comes back, one form or another. Not at a time of our choosing. And the cycle starts all over again. Life and love. We don't control either one. And yet they're at the core of who we are and why we do what we do. Now, the big difference in my mind between Ash Wednesday and Valentine's Day is that the latter doesn't usually remind us that love is fleeting. It's come to tell a different kind of story. Love is glorious, love is uplifting, love is enduring despite all odds and challenges. Well, Ash Wednesday is all about foreshadowing death, knowing that resurrection and new life are on the other side, but it foreshadows death. We are going to die. We live, we die, and then we live again. I think about this in the context of love, and it's very similar. We love, we lose love, and then we love again. Isn't that really the parallel? Aren't they closer to each other than we think? But that's not exactly how we paint Valentine's Day. The way we paint Valentine's Day is that there's no downside to the journey of love. It's roses and chocolate and candy canes from here to the sunrise, to the end of time. I guess my point is, let's not pretend that something is permanent when it isn't. Life comes and goes, as does love. Let's acknowledge both And not message Valentine's Day as a love forever through all ills kind of celebration, but embrace love as it comes to you. Appreciate love in this moment. Take stock of how it enriches your life when it's around. Make it that kind of a celebration. Now, I'm not suggesting we treat Valentine's Day as somberly as we treat Ash Wednesday. And if I'm honest, I actually remember thinking of Ash Wednesday services and just the vibe of Ash Wednesday. I remember it fondly. Yes, I'm marked by death. That's my inevitable reality. But if we can face that and get over that hump and look over that hump to the eventuality of life again, that is the hope that you cling to. That's why I tried not to wipe off that pesky ashen cross when I went to get my T-bone steak. It's a reminder. This is who we are. This is where we're going. It's inevitable. It's also why Lent meant so much. It's this 40-day period that starts with Ash Wednesday when you get to think about what life means, this thing that we have. What do we need and what do we not need? How are we spending it? What do we give? What do we take? What do we take for granted? And how much do we love? Who do we love? What does love look like in our lives? All of that contemplation, that reflection made Easter a far more powerful, fulfilling holiday for me. Once I was able to wrap my head around the meaning of Ash Wednesday and the intention of Lent. But Valentine's Day, as it currently stands, the commercial holiday, it's an obligation at worst, right? At worst, you have to pick up flowers, you have to get chocolate, you have to make reservations for a fancy dinner for your SO. And at its best, it's just saccharine. It's a Hallmark card, and it's unrealistic. It's reaffirmation of a falsehood that love is always there. It fades sometimes. It comes back. I believe that it always comes back, but it fades sometimes. We lose love. And that's why love hurts. There were some this past year who wallowed in painful unlove on Valentine's Day. I won't say I was one of them, but I certainly have friends who are not big fans of Valentine's Day, in part because of the unrealistic messaging that has come to exist around the holiday. So let's reframe it. Let's reframe love in the same way Ash Wednesday reframes life. It's part of our journey. And there will be moments when we don't have love that we want or that we need, that we're lacking it. And it makes those moments when we do have it that much sweeter. And hopefully it encourages us to appreciate those moments, to be mindful and intentional and present. For honestly, nobody wants to go long without love, just as nobody wants to go without life. But we look at them differently, and we shouldn't. The sooner we can recognize that both are fleeting, the better we can be about being intentional and present in the moment, making the most of love in life, whatever it gives to us in opportunities and gifts, so that we don't take either one for granted.